Okay, hey, eighth grade. There are not going to be any questions in these lessons, so just make sure you are pausing and getting your notes down. It also might help if you have a highlighter or maybe a marker to underline things that are important, our definitions and things. In addition to that, have your pencil so you can take notes. We are going to continue in lesson 7. Lesson 7. Because we did not finish that the other day. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to review what we did and then I'm going to go to the back page. Okay. So, we found out that lines pass through any 2 points and you can only draw one line based on those 2 points. And that's true. So, any 2 points uniquely determine a line. And our goal for this is finding the actual slope of that line. Um, Once we draw the line, also, we can figure out what the y-intercept is, okay? So the first thing we were given are 2 points, point A and B, and we graphed those on the line. So point A was 2, 3, and that's right here. And point B was 8, 6, and we graphed that over here. After we drew those two lines, 2 points, we drew a line through them. And that is our unique line. So we can check that off. We did that. Now, once we drew the line, we can go ahead and find anywhere these whole numbers intersect. So these blue points that we graphed. So we just looked at where we had whole number interceptions. So we went over to 4, 4, and that was one of the whole number interceptions. So 4, 4 was here. We also had 6, 5, 0, 2, negative 4, 0. Those are the points we found together. Then we went in and we found the slope of a line. Okay, it was the change in y over the change in x. So to determine that, we got 3, 6, but how did we find 3 over 6? Well, we took the original 2 points, and I'm going to erase this. You don't have to erase this on your paper. But what we did together is we found the change in y, which was 8. Which was 6 minus 3, our second 2 points. And our change in x, we had 8 and 2, so it was 8 minus 2. So that gave us 3 over 6. And we always want to put that in slowest terms. So 3 6 is equivalent to 1/2. And that's what we got, okay? The next thing we did is we wrote the equation of the line. So y equals mx plus b. M being the slope, which we just determined, and b being the y-intercept. Okay, so y and x always stay as y and x because that can be any y and x that lie on that line. So I know a lot of you are trying to replace values for y and x, but when we're writing the equation of the line, y and x stay as y and x. They're variables because we have a very long line and our points can be anywhere along there. So our y-intercept is going to fall wherever the line falls along the y-axis. Okay, so in this case, the point that falls along the y-axis is 0, 2, which means our y-intercept is 2. So our equation of the line was y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Okay. So this kind of just goes over what we just did. Okay, so we're considering the original 2 points, A and B, which was the 8, 6, and 2, 3. And we're just doing the same thing we did up there. 8 minus 2 is 6. That's the change in x. And 6 minus 3 is 3. That's the change in y. We used subtraction to figure those out. And then we just simplified our slope. Okay? So if you don't have these notes, At this point, you need to pause, rewind the video, go forward in the video, and get these notes copied. All right, we're going to go to the back, and we're going to learn about something called the slope formula, which is what we just did, so you don't really have to be scared about it, because you just did it. A line that passes through the points x1, y1, and x2, y2. These are two unique points. They're two different points on the line, okay? Has a slope given by rise over run, which is the change in y and the change in x. So, rise, up or down, and run, left or right. Those are just terms we are going to use. I will probably continue to say change in y over change in x rather than rise over run. Okay? So let's put this into practice. We have a line that passes through the points -3, 2, and 5, 8. Point the plots and draw a straight line through them. Okay, so let's plot the points and draw a line through them. So my first point is -3, so -1, 2, 3, 2, positive 2. So I'm going to plot that right there. -3, 2. And then I'm going to plot 5, 8. So I'm going to go over 5 and up 8. And that takes me right here. And now I have to draw a line through them. Any straight edge will do at home when you are doing this. Okay, so there's my line. The next step is to calculate the slope and express it in simplest. Oh, I'm sorry. We're here. Calculate the change in x and the change in y. So the change in x would be x2, which is 5, minus a -3. Oops. The change in y is 8 minus 2. Okay, so I want you to remember, minus a -3 is the same as adding 3. So my change in x is 8. My change in y, 8 minus 2, is 6. So now that we have those changes, we can put it in our slope formula. Change in y over change in x. So the change in y, I'm going to reference b, was 6. The change in x was 8. That's definitely not in lowest terms. Those are even numbers. I can divide them both by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay? So my slope is 3/4. So let's illustrate that in a different color. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do green. So I'm going to start from original point, and I am going to go ahead and illustrate 3/4. So I'm going to start from -3, 2, and I'm going to go up 3. So I'm going to draw a line up 3. So there's my rise. Up 3. And then I have 4. So run 4. So I'm going to go to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that takes me right here. And if you're doing this correctly, whenever you go up 3 and to the right 4, you should end up on a point back on the line. So up 3 to the right 4 gets me to that second point. Something really interesting is you notice we did that twice. And if we took the original 2 points, we divided by 2 to get the slope. So we did the slope 2 times to get from one point to another. Not something you have to know, but I just want you to be aware of it. Okay. We should be able to calculate the slope of the line given any 2 points that lie on that line. It doesn't matter. Get some practice on that essential skill below. Okay, so for exercise 4, we're going to do A together, and then I want you to do B, C, and D on your own, and then check your answers, okay? So change in Y over change in X. So my Y is 12 and 2. Remember, Y is your second point. So 12 minus 2, change in X, 7 minus 3. So 12 minus 2 is 10. 7 minus 3 is 4. So that's not in its lowest terms, though, again. I can divide both 10 and 4 by 2 because they're even numbers. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So there is my slope of the line. Okay, try these other ones, and then come back and make sure that you got them correct. Okay, here are your answers. Some things I want to highlight within these answers. Oops, we'll do that. Okay, so I want you to notice that 2 minus 5 gave me a negative 3. I've reduced this fraction by dividing by 3 in both the numerator and denominator, but my slope is still negative. For C, negative 2 minus 2. Those are two negatives. I'm adding two negatives, so that gives me a negative 4, right? And you'll see that negative in the slope here. 6 minus negative 6. Two negatives makes a positive. So 6 plus 6 is 12. So those two negatives right beside each other. Tells me I add. So your slope is negative 1/3. For D, we've got a lot of negative numbers here. Okay? So I have 7 minus negative 7. That is going to give me 14. It gives me 7 plus 7. And if you want to make some notes underneath it, that might be a good idea. So this is 7 plus 7 over. So this is negative 2 plus negative 3 minus negative 3. Subtracting a negative is the same as adding. So negative 2 plus 3. That's how I got positive 14 over 1. Okay. You're going to have 2 Delta Math assignments. They will say lesson 7. You will have one where you're practicing adding and subtracting your integers. And then you will have one that's going to look familiar because you've done it before, but I want you to get more practice on calculating the slope of a line. Lesson 2 probably will not be posted until tomorrow, just so you're aware.